Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA. I'm KISMA, and today's episode is part 2 in the series, Why You Don't Have What You Want. Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and KISMA, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set.
Hello there, Nick. What's going on?
What is going on there, KISMA? What is going on?
I don't know. I asked you first.
Well, we're getting ready to go to Michigan.
We are going to Michigan for the 12th year of our autumn retreat at Niatawanta Inn.
Yeah, we've been going to retreats here even longer than that, though.
Have we?
Yeah, we totally have. Mm-hmm. It really is one of my most favorite events of the year. Yeah. It's always awesome people. It's a small group. It's like such a cool place. Yeah. We go at this time of year specifically because the fall leaves are changing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just awesome.
Nice retreat for us. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. And it's really fun doing these things with you. Like I love leading retreats with you.
Yeah.
We've been doing it a while now.
We have been. Are you going to teach a yoga class again?
I am. Probably two, right? Two yoga classes. This is it, everybody. This is 2 yoga classes that I teach in a year.
So good. I love it.
They're always really fun, though. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. And definitely, the theme obviously is this. If you listen to last week's episode, we were talking about resistance a lot and why if we don't have as humans what we want, somewhere we are resisting it. And retreats and getaways and extracting ourselves from current environments can sometimes be a really nice way to just break up the energy and have a different perspective.
Yeah. Hit the reset button.
Hit the reset. And definitely we'll be talking about that today. Hitting the reset, different perspective, being present is all a way to melt away resistance.
Right. And there's a difference between truly having a retreat and having some space.
Yes.
And also like going to a training and packing yourself full of information and like learning new things. And, like when we're talking about hitting the reset button, it is exactly as you described, breaking up the energy, getting out so that we can actually see some of the things that we've been doing. And this conversation about where you might be resisting or what you might be resisting in your life, well, this is super key because when you are able to get out of resistance, like so many people talk about wanting to have more ease in their life. Well, that is the opposite of resistance. Right?
Ease is the opposite of resistance.
Yeah. And most people will think like something has to, like it's the world, there's something that has to change and doing, but it's really something inside of us that needs to change.
Yeah.
And when we shift those things in ourselves, that's when the ease really starts to happen. It doesn't mean, this is the funny part, it doesn't mean that you work any less. Well, I'll use the word hard. It's not my favorite word for that, but it doesn't mean that you work any less or do. It's not about that. It's really about how you're in that flow of your life and how things manifest for you. It doesn't need to be like kicking and clawing to try and get everything done. It can be done in such a more graceful way. And that's what this series is truly about. It's about creating more ease and eliminating the resistance or discovering and having awarenesses around the resistance that, most people would deny that they're creating or just are not even aware of.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, that's why we're here. That's why it's Illumination Podcast, right? Shed some light.
Shed a little light. And today in this part 2, we wanted to look at how one might stay in the past. And this will create a form of resistance. Staying in the past means that we are in attachment to things that have happened. It also may mean that we are using a past mindset, a past energy, definitely an old perspective to create something new. And so you can see where that's problematic. I forget who it was that said, maybe Einstein, you can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. When we are stuck in the past, and there are many experiences and appearances that we have all been through, it's like shedding that and being able to step into this new receptive state to receive something new.
Yeah. What you're describing is a feedback loop.
It is a feedback loop.
So how it works in a really simple way is people drag their old stories with them into the present, and the present is where you create your future. The feedback loop is taking and creating from your past and creating your future, which will ensure that you create pretty much the same thing,
right,
or some kind of variation. And then it feeds back on itself again and again and again. And,
right.
and truthfully, this is how decades go by, where people are like, I just thought I would be somewhere else. I thought I would be further along.
Right.
Right.
But it was like one foot in the past, one in the present, and just back and forth. It's a karmic loop.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
Karmic loop. Yeah. That's a good way to put it. Yeah, it is a good way to put it.
You know, I think this happens because for a lot of people, there can be a sense of safety of reverting to the past.
Yeah.
It's what we know. It's what we've experienced. And that new, right? If someone doesn't like to know what's not happening, the newness of something being created can feel a little bit scary, but it's also exciting. And the more we are clear in what it is we want to pull in and want to attract, the more we see it, the more we feel it, the more we become that receptor for it.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a dangerous conversation, I think. And what I mean by that is when, like, let's say somebody's had some success in their past, right? And then maybe they got off track. They became aware that they got off track, and then they want to go back to that place, right? They're like, well, it was like this and like this. It felt like this. And they want to go back to that place rather than, right? Because that sends you back into all the old energy, all the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Rather than really taking the leap from the future and saying, okay, I'm going to create a new future from here, and just deciding clean and clear from the moment.
Right.
So I think I understand why, and I've certainly done that myself, and that's the reason I'm talking about it, is because it's never proven to be that effective. Right? It's a backwards conversation. And I don't think any of us want to go backwards in our lives. Not anybody who's really approaching their life from a healthy and expansive mindset.
And there is a difference between what we're talking about as staying in the past, acting from the past, thinking from the past, and memories. Like, memories are beautiful. The point of going into the past is either to learn, right? To reflect, to learn, and to shift, or there will be those people and places and events that we think about with love and joy. Certainly, many people have pasts that were filled with trauma, and this is a challenge.
Yeah.
The more that we can, be deeply, deeply present and aware to this moment and what it is, be deeply aware and present to what we want to create moving forward, the more we see that, the more we're focused on that, and the more open we are to receive it. If we're bringing in a past event, and again, it's easy to do, everyone. It's like, let's just say you're a runner and you're on your 5th marathon and you've never finished under a certain time, and you continue to be like, I've never finished that time frame, and why would I now? Instead of, here's my new goal, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. There's got to be a shift out of what has happened and into new possibility.
That's a great example. There was just a guy who ran a marathon in under 2 hours.
Whoa, dude.
Same kind of thing. Idea as the 4-minute mile, though, right? Everybody said it can't, then they took that story with them until somebody did it.
Right.
Right. And everybody would say, you can't do that. No human can run that fast for that long. And somebody did it. And I'll bet we'll see in the not too distant future,
a whole burst of them,
more people doing that.
It's in the field. This is when I get excited. It's like all in the field of consciousness, and someone pops through and it's like, ooh, there's the pathway. Talk about non-resistance. That one human just opened up so many ways where others can follow.
Yeah.
Which is a gift of all of us being connected.
Yeah. And it reminds me also of our retreat. that we talked about at the beginning of the episode, we go back to the same place year after year because we love it and it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go back to this expecting to recreate the same experience every single time, it's going to be super frustrating for us and probably really disappointing for all of the participants, even though many of the participants that have come many years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of them in particular has been there, I think, for all of them. She's awesome. But that's not how we do it. We go back to the same place because it's beautiful and we love it. And it's just a really great place to plug back in. But we go as new people. Everybody who comes to it, even if they've been to it many times in the past, we approach them as brand new human beings. And we are there to create a new experience. Right?
Exactly. I love it.
Now, there's something about this that I think is important to talk about. And it's a sneaky one. When you talk about the past, is this is oftentimes guised as self-knowledge or self-awareness. Let me give you an example. Let me tell you what I mean. Is somebody will say, oh, well, that's just the way I am, or I have this, or I've had this experience and these traumas. And so they play that out again and again in their life. Mm-hmm. So they're effectively dragging that in the past, and they're saying that they're defining themselves by that.
Mm-hmm. Stories, real occurrences, not things we want to diminish. But when we tether ourselves to the past, we're tethering ourselves to the stories, the experiences of the past.
Yeah.
And that can happen with a real event that happens or a perceived event. But when that becomes the story that we are integrating in self, then that is the story from which we are moving forward or trying to move forward. That's the story from the words, the thoughts, and the actions we're taking instead of a clean mindset, clean energy, clean shift of this is the new way I want to be or the new thing I want to have.
Yeah. And it really does just come down to a moment by moment decision. Everybody wants to know how. Like, how do you do that? How do you accomplish that?
Mm-hmm.
How does this happen? And there's no how to it other than you have to decide in every moment who you want to be and how you want to be in that moment.
Exactly.
Like, that's just it.
I do have a hack that I give my students and clients when a mindset, a belief, the old stories creep up and they're wanting to do something new and the doubt comes in. And I have them do this, just talk to themselves or talk to their ego. I call it the lower mindset and just say, not right now. Not right now. I'm not doing that right now. Like, not right now. I'm not listening to that right now. And the more we're like, not right now, then we pivot out of that thing, that sort of, the monkey mind or the voices, and we can step into the clean slate of possibility.
Yeah.
It's a good one because we cannot put in doubt and confidence at the same time. We won't be present and in the past at the same time. We're going to be either present or either in the past or either in the future. And really that powerful place of creation is in the present with a really clean and clear mindset, energy, slate.
Yeah. A clear decision. Well, speaking of the future, that's the flip side of the coin, right? So you've got the living in the past or dragging the past, I think is a better, not necessarily living in the past, but dragging that past into your present. But then it's taking the other side of that is taking, getting out of the present and getting into the futurizing.
Right.
And that is a huge resistance.
Right.
Right. So tell the listeners a little bit about that. Well,
it's funny because I like creating the future, right? Like we are, as Swamiji always teaches, we're the architect of our future, but it's created from this moment. And so when we take past notions, beliefs, energies, thoughts, and create the future with that, it's going to have a veil or an essence of what's happened in the past. When we start from right here and now and get super clear on what it is or where we're going, and where we are now, the future becomes much clearer to create. And having that, sparkle and lack of doubt is essential when we're really on a big project we're wanting to create. Or maybe it's just, every day we want joy and happiness. We have to start the day choosing that.
I'm wondering if you can talk, because you bring up a really good point where you can talk about the idea of goal setting without and the difference between that and letting the mind get really carried away in the future stuff. Like, can you differentiate for everybody there? Because goal setting is obviously really important. Having a vision for it.
It's all going to come down to attachment or lack thereof. I mean, seeing a goal, I like to use the word ideal because to me, an ideal is more compelling. We're doing something for not just ourselves, but for the greater good. So whatever that vision is, it's so helpful to see it and toss it up there and feel it and get up underneath it and lift it up. However, if we are chasing it and squeezing it and attached to it, we're actually diminishing the possibility of achieving it. So that ability to let go and move forward, we have to understand that as we move towards our dreams and goals, and as we're seeing it, we're taking the action, it's all coming towards us. It might be coming towards us in a different iteration than what we think. So if we're only bent on one thing and we're just chasing that, we've got this kind of resistant energy, we're going to miss some of the other opportunities or other ways that it shows up. So it's the fine line, everyone. It's not always a simple dance, but having that faith of, okay, there it is. I'm tossing it up, unattached, trust, faith, belief, enjoy the whole process and journey. I do think a lot of people miss out the enjoyment of just watching themselves grow and feeling the resiliency and the strength they create. They miss that, and which are just miracles in and of themselves because they're chasing so hard.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like the joy of the journey and the fun of it, and the fun of creation and all that.
Celebrations, the losses, like the good, good, bads, uglies, or whatever, just like enjoy it all.
Yeah. It's really easy to get stuck down in the weeds and stuck in the doingness of everything and just and kind of missing out on the joy and the wonder of it all. And I have a little hack around that if you want to hear it. So one of the most common things that I see people do is when they want to create something in their life, they get really, really elaborate in their goal, right? Like really elaborate in the vision and the words around it and everything like that. And I feel like that's a lot of times is like, it confuses the brain. When you think about like what we're really talking about in this episode is staying in the present and holding your ideal. Okay, in its essence, that's exactly it's not dragging from your past. It's approaching yourself fresh in the moment and holding that ideal so that you can bring that thing into your life. When that is super complicated with a bunch of words around it and all these descriptors and all these things, like your brain, you have to read it like your brain can't even remember it.
Yeah.
Right. So it needs to be so simple that it can almost become a mantra for you. It needs to be that simple and that memorable for you. Right. So that you can drop back into it, because ultimately, like the power of now, like he nailed it on the book title, The Power of Now. It is truly where the power exists, and the energy that you choose in that moment is the most incredible and powerful thing. And when you have an anchor to bring you back into the present and to step right back into that energy, and you can do that again and again and again, because you will go off during your day. Like you're a human being. Like this is not about perfection at all. It is about the joy of the process. But when you have that anchor, that really simple thing for your brain to grab onto and say like, oh, wait a second, here, now, this, then you can really stay in the energy of that manifestation or that goal or that ideal or whatever it is that you want to call it.
I would add on that. I think sometimes there's value to getting super clear and descriptive and bringing in something. And then it's like letting that go and being in what some of the great teachers call the spirit of it.
Yeah, I agree with you, because there are two different things in my mind. One of them is about really creating a clarity in what you want. And it does take a lot of words to get to that sometimes, to really work through it or to really, imagine what it would be like to have that, because our brains do need to kind of expand what's possible. But when it comes back to that moment to moment, that's where the simplicity I think is super key. Yeah. Right. To constantly back and like, no, this is the thing.
Yeah. It's the back to that present, deep present moment of creation. Well, we have an illumination insight for this episode, which is really quite profound.
I can't wait.
You find men everywhere talking from their memories instead of their awareness, by Emerson.
I love Emerson.
He's the man.
He knew.
Mm-hmm. You find men everywhere talking from their memories instead of their awareness.
What do you think he means by awareness? What does that word mean?
I think it's that acute present moment awareness of what is happening right now. What am I doing to create my reality?
Yeah.
Why am I creating this reality? Just deep awareness of self. And of course, in the higher aspects, awareness of self with a capital S. But let's not go there at the end of the episode, but all in one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think about how many times we do that to people, right? We talk to them based on who we think they are and who they have been, instead of really approaching a human being in the present moment, like allowing the space for that person to show up as a new person and as like a fresh and bright and shiny newer version, 2.0 version of themselves.
Right. That's good.
Yeah.
That's so
and
true.
It takes, he's right. Like it takes such keen awareness in order to do that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So there you go, everyone. Be present. Go for your dreams with a brand new mindset, perspective, energy, heart center. And the past is there for you to learn. Other than that, I think it's time to let go.
Read that quote one more time.
And we know Emerson's an old writer. So, humans, men, this obviously we know that. You find men everywhere talking from their memories instead of their awareness.
Mic drop.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.